God blesses whoever hears this, so that your soul might be saved. By way of introduction, my name is Shawnnweed. I was born not born, but raised in Bernice, Louisiana, small town, population 2,500. Technically right outside of it in a small community by the name of Pisgah. When I was 19 years old, I joined the Marine Corps, and I actually have this to show you. This is my military ID. That's me as a staff sergeant in the Marines. I know that I've gained a lot of weight. This is my Marine Corps active duty card that I should have turned in when I left, but after 13 years they owed me something. I only had another 7 to go to retire, but just wasn't happy, so I got out, and now I'm living in California. I am happy now. I've married, have a beautiful little baby girl. She just turned 2 years old, and but the thing that I want to tell you about is something that happened to me while I was still in the Marine Corps, and this is my testimony of hell. I believe, if my memory doesn't fail me, it was April the 4th of 1994, which is kind of a hard date to forget, 444. I was in 29 Palms, California, but we Marines called it 29 Stumps, and in the middle of this desert there was a little tiny camp called Camp Wilson. I was in the middle of a training cycle because I was with artillery, and every time we go from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina to 29 Palms, California to do training, we stay there for 2 months. In the very middle of it, we have a 4-day period of leave. We call it a 96, which is 24 times 4. Anyway, if you do the math in your head real quickly, you'll see that it's 96 hours. I was at that time not a what I would consider a Christian. I'd grown up in a Baptist church. I knew about heaven and hell, and as much as anyone can know when you're only 22 years old. But I wouldn't really consider myself a staunch Christian. At that time, I was pretty much doing my own thing, living my own life, my own way. Was not married, but still sleeping around, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, just basically living the life of a hellion. and during this 4-day period that we're waiting for one set of ground pounders, or grunts as we call them, to go home, and the other ones to come to California for training, because they only train for 3 weeks when they go to California. So one company leaves, the other one comes back, and it's a 4-day transition. During that 4-day transition, we as artillery are given an alternative between 3 choices. 1, stay at the camp because you're completely broke. 2, go to Disneyland or Disney World, whichever it is in California. And 3, to go to a Vegas package, obviously, which is drinking, gambling, so on and so forth. I myself had drank like a fish pretty much every night, so I was broke, along with 2 other devil dogs, as we like to call ourselves. One by the name of Jason Laycock. At that time, he was a corporal in S2 Intelligence, and the other one was Toby Page, who was also a corporal in S1 Administration. I myself was S3, which is Fire Directional Control. And at that time, I was a Lance Corporal, so I was one rank beneath them. So Lance Corporal Shawnnweed, or Lance Corporal Weed, because we only pretty much went by last names anyway. I know, strange name. Anyway, we were sitting around in 110-degree sweltering weather because there was just really nothing else to do at camp other than sit around and talk. So we were all three sitting around. Corporal Laycock broke out his pictures, and we were all sitting around looking at him, and he took some extraordinary pictures because he had the opportunity to go right up to the edge of the impact area. And even we both had an argument about him going into the buffer zone, but they have like an 800-meter buffer zone around the impact area, and he drove right up through that. No one's supposed to pass that buffer zone, but he drove right into it and got right up on the edge of the impact area and took some amazing photos. He was one of those guys that was intelligent, but at the same time was always willing to push the barriers of stupidity, which he did. But needless to say, the photos that he took were absolutely stunning. After we got through viewing his photos, he broke out his camera and realized he only had 3 photos left to take before there was the end of the film. So he had us get up. He took a picture of his green folding cot, which had everything he owned underneath it. Alice pack, sea bag, boots, you name it, it was all underneath there. And then we took a buddy picture where we were like leaning on each other, like, best of friends. And then for his last picture, he looks at it and goes, "Oh, I only have one left." And then he looks over and he sees this noose dangling from the ceiling. The noose was made of hay rope, which had tiny little sprigs sticking out from it. And the noose was hanging from a rafter that was inside the A-frame, was only about 6 foot 8 inches from the ground, and the noose actually hung all the way down till it was about 1.5 feet off the ground. So it wasn't like anybody was worried about hanging themselves. You'd have to lay down on the ground to hang yourself with this thing, literally. And of course, it was made of hay rope, so it wasn't like wax rope, which slides real easily to close a noose. So I mean, you could literally step your foot in the noose without having to lift your knee above a 90-degree angle and stand up on it. Grab the rope and literally stand up inside the noose, and it wouldn't tighten down around your foot. At least not before your foot touched the ground, anyway. So you can put your full body weight on it. So I mean, Marines, when they get bored, they do all kinds of stupid things with rope. Like this one guy made a muzzle for a horse. Another guy took it and made daisy chains out of it, and another guy just took it and made a 13-knot noose. He was absolutely bored, had nothing to do. Nobody really cared. We always just went around it. It wasn't like it was a big deal or anything. But anyway, for the last picture, he looks over at the noose and he goes, "I got an idea." And usually when an intelligence guy says that, it usually ends up being the equivalent of a redneck saying, "Hey, y'all, watch this." So it usually turns out bad for everyone, which it did. Anyway, he since I was the lowest man on the totem pole, he says, "Hey, Weed, why don't you?" And of course, on top of that, I was a little bit crazy. He said, "Hey, Weed, why don't you go over there and stick your head inside that noose and act like you're dead, and I'll take the last picture." I'm like, "Okay." Thinking to myself, not a bad idea. And I went over there, started had the noose, and of course I had to kneel down. So I squatted down, towards the ground, so I'd have a little bit of tension on the rope, so it looked like I was actually hanging, and he was just going to take a picture from my waist up. Anyway, he went to take the picture and the batteries had died, so the camera obviously just shut down. So he went back over there and was replacing the batteries. While he was doing that, Corporal Page walked up and began whispering in his ear, and that should have automatically given it away, and it kind of did. I was kind of suspicious from that point, but it was those suspicions were kind of like thrown out when Corporal Laycock looks at him, and goes, "No, that's not the way it works. If I buy, you fly." And he took out his wallet, took out a $10 bill, and gave it to Corporal Page, and Corporal Page went running out the back door. And in the meantime, he had to replace the camera, replace the batteries in the camera, and we went back over there, and he was giving me direction. He's like, "All right, now let your arms dangle loose. Now close your eyes. Relax them. Don't make any wrinkles. Stick your tongue out a little. Cock your head to the side a little bit. And he's giving me all these instructions so to make a real-looking photo. And I didn't know it, but at that time, he was using his voice to mask the footsteps that were sneaking up behind me. Corporal Page had gone out the front door and came in the back door right behind me and was sneaking up on me. He grabbed the knot and slammed it down around my throat, just as I had exhaled. So immediately I stood up, stunned, because I didn't know. Number one, I didn't know that he was sneaking up behind me. Number two, I just got this rope slammed down around my neck, and number three, I couldn't breathe. So I immediately stood up, and I knew I had just seconds left, maybe 6 to 8 seconds, because I had just exhaled and I couldn't breathe back in. So I jammed a finger into the knot and actually scratched my neck in the process of doing it. I grabbed I had a finger in the noose, and I grabbed the knot on the back and I was pulling against it, but what I didn't understand is that the rope comes down through the knot, comes off to the side around your neck, then comes back up through. So if you don't grab this knot and twist it over to the side, you'll never get this rope to slide because it's at an L. It's like this. It's hooked into there, and it won't come loose until you straighten it out. Of course, it was on the back of my neck, and I didn't have all that much time to think about it. So I'm just grabbing the knot and pulling for all that I'm worth. And with one finger, it was just not enough strength. So I shoved another finger in there and grabbed the knot. And I knew I only had seconds left. And I said to myself, I have one shot, one chance to get this right. Otherwise, I'm a dead man. So I shoved the second finger in there, and I grabbed the knot, and I closed my eyes, and I clenched my teeth, and I pulled for everything that I was worth. And I felt something give way, and I fell forward, and I was out, and I was glad to be out. And the guys, they just looked at me, and they go, like this, and I gave them a few choice words, which I will not repeat. Anyway, they just turned around and went over and sat down on their cots, and I went over and sat down with them. I sat down right beside Corporal Jason Laycock, and Corporal Toby Page was sitting right across from him. Corporal Page reached underneath his cot and pulled out a brown paper bag. He unrolled it, and inside of it was a white AFES bag filled with what we call ghee-dunk, or snacks, candy, soda, stuff like that, chocolate chip cookies, whatever.